All right, this will be a good quick example for Fluff News. Shorting Fluff News, it's about noon, which is a strange time for a run. Usually it's in the morning or afternoon around 2:30. But this is CERS, CERS Corp. And if you look at the news here, I just shorted some at 258, 500, so CERS 500, 258, just a starter short because I saw, you see how it was this solid green with some, it mostly just had, a single reds that weren't really connected and it didn't seem toppy. Like, here's a double red, but it just, I don't know, from 215 to 250 didn't seem like enough. Um, but anyways, it's starting to get a little toppier here. It's making its mind up. So this is a good starter position because the news is so weak that it may pull back right away to around 235 and I'll lock it in. But what I really want is for it to run to 3 and maybe even 4. So I have 500 more shares short waiting at 3. So hopefully this will run to 3 and fill the other 500. And then if it does that, then I'll add another order for 1,000 at $4. And the reason why those are my points are because technically we have, you see this drop off at $3, how it kind of went sideways at 3 and then dropped off back in May. That's called a gap. And this is likely, I mean, sometimes when they get running, they'll fill this gap and then they'll find resistance at the previous resistance point of 3 and then they'll crash. It looks like it's going to actually fall right now, which is, that's fine, but it would be better if it would have gone a little higher for us. We would have got more out of it. But anyways, this may still go to 3 and fill at 3, and then if it meets resistance and crashes there, then I'll have 1,000 at 3, and it'll probably crash back down to like 250, so that'd be a good $500. But then it would be great if it ran to 4, if it just got crazy and started squeezing up to $4. You see there's another shelf here. So I would add another 1,000 there because I don't see it going any higher than that, even if things got wild, just because it had such a long period of time at that point. So yeah, we'll see if we can average up at 3, and then hopefully if it fills at 3, then we'll average up again at 4. But this is what Fluff News looks like. Let's click the News tab right here. And yeah, there's no news for a long time, and then all of a sudden, a couple hours ago, CERS announces an agreement with the Central California Blood Center in which CCBC will manufacture pathogen-reduced cryoprecipitate for the company CERS. So, okay, it's just like some announcement, some vague, I don't know. Can you see the difference between this and FDA approval or like 80% positive results against placebo in phase 2 trials or things like that that really get people humming? Like these might get a little bit of a pop, but stuff like this is coming back down, especially when the company is as unhealthy as CERS. So before I shorted, I just very quickly looked at their float, and they have a 90 million float, so that's going to be hard to short squeeze monster gap ups and things like that. It's going to be more slow and steady. And then if we go to the SEC, sec.gov, and we type in their information, we can look at their financial statements. They have 11 million in cash. Total current liabilities 26 million, so they have a 16.4 million deficit pretty much. And then if you look at their operating income, they have another 18 million they're losing from operations. So they're not making any money. They're in a couple million deficit. They're up on Fluff News. It's a weird time of the day. This just seems like a little 20% pop and fade to me. So yeah, I shorted it at 258. So I almost got the top tick here on this small pullback. We'll see if this is going to be a crack. So I'm looking for 250 to sell through, and if it breaks below 250, it's probably going to be done for the day. So let's go ahead and find our halfway range using our little technique. So let's just say 215 was the start of the run. The end was 263. Let's just say 213 to make it easy. And then 263, it ran 50 cents. So 25 cents off of 263, 238. Hopefully that's right. But yeah, it's cracking now, so it's probably over. So I'll probably think about closing out at 238, depending on how decisively this falls. But yeah, we'll just, this is what it looks like when it's, there's no news, terrible company. It has these very strong shelves and resistance points. This is a perfect little fluff news short, and you can scalp a couple bucks doing this type of stuff. So I started with a very small position. I mean, 500 was very conservative, and then there was another 500 waiting. But I don't think this is going to come back into play. Once you see a crack like that, that's a convincing crack. That's going to spook people, and we should be dead, and it should just fade off, and we'll close it out once it finds support. So that's kind of how these things work, really. This might take, a little while. It'll probably be a little bounce and then fade. So, maybe sometime by the end of the day, I'll tune back in and show you the order entry for a cover. But yeah, this was, when was the alert? 11:51. 8 minutes. This thing cracked in 8 minutes, and that's just how these things go. So I'm gonna wait for this to fade, and I'll bring the video back whenever I'm gonna close the position. Watch for these things. I found it on the scanner. I'm constantly looking at percent gainer site that I showed you and our scanner. And here we are, CERS popped up. Had some volume. It was in my price range. I had already looked at these other charts and they were already broken. I already shorted CAPR this morning, did the same thing. NAKD, I was busy with other stuff. I didn't get involved in Naked. And then Shore, I just didn't like it. It's been like, I don't know. It's not parabolic enough, and it didn't feel good. Too much volume, and I didn't like it. Usually it's never enough volume, but sometimes when you get this massive volume and a couple days in a row, it can drag out and turn into multi-days, which I just, once it turns into a multi-day, then I wait for the first red day, that back end crack, and then I'll start shorting it, which we've discussed, and if we haven't seen that example yet, you will. But yeah, once it turns into a multi-day with huge volume and becomes like an item, in the small cap community, then it becomes you got to wait it out and wait for that first red day crack. But yeah, scan and you see these quick pops on nothing. That's just easy money, really. So here's a little bounce, and like I said, this should fade back off. So I'll catch you in a little bit. Okay, so here's CERS, and it just finally cracked below that key 250 support level that it's been bouncing on. So this might be cool to watch. Once this happens, usually you'll get a big sell-off. So yeah, you guys saw we shorted into this main pop, and then it had a couple little bounces right on 250, and then it just sold through there. So you can see on the level 2, there's about 11,000, 12,000. Yeah. See all this red printing, all those sell tickets. Now we're into the 7s, the 6s. It's starting to sell off now. And it should accelerate. There we go. There's still about 10,000 versus 3,000, 4,000. So this is still a sell-heavy level 2, even though there's more tickets here. There's more individual orders if you count these up. But here, 4,000 sell, 4,000 sell, 2,000, 2,000 sell on the ticket print, 246. So it's selling through that. It should sell into we should get down to 242. You see this 11,000 at 242 and 241. That's the halfway point. 238, 239 was our halfway point. So it's pretty close. When this gets down near 242, it'll probably bounce around right on that 240, 242 point. At these, you see, because 242 and 241, there's 22,000. That's support. So uh, once it gets there, I'll probably go ahead and just cover because it's close to our target, and there's support. But I wanted you to see that this is a common pattern. You know, this quick spike, when it really starts to get vertical. You know, like this was vertical too, but at this point it was only up, 40 cents. But right here, where it was kind of getting vertical, and then it was having these long wicks on the candles. That's when you know you're most of the time you're nearing the top. So here's a couple little squeezes. These green candles here. That's usually a squeeze, a shorts covering, and usually after that, that's the critical point to short into. So we hit pretty much the top tick, not quite, but and then bounced on support. You'll see these dead cat bounces sometimes. Usually it's just one bounce, and then once it cracks support, it's pretty much dead, and you just wait. You wait for the fade. There might be a couple little pops here and there on the way down, but it usually comes and lays right on our halfway point. And we can see it's probably going to lay right around there, a couple cents higher because of these supports. But yeah, so that's what it looks like. It's a tiny position because our starter short ended up being where it cracked, which is fine. I mean, money's money. Just lock it in and move on. But it's even better when if you're real conservative, like I am. These tiny starter shorts, a lot of times those will actually be the top and where it cracks. But every once in a while, when you're wrong and it flies through that, you're going to be glad that it's a tiny starter short and it's not, an all-in order. A lot of people go all in on their first short point, like right there, and then if it doesn't crash right then and it gaps up, it happens so fast that you can be down, a couple $1,000 in 3 seconds if it squeezes through and breaks out, and then you have to cover, and then it could just bust up your account, and if you're near a pattern day trading limit or anything like that, it can drop you below that, so you can't reshort it. Or by the time you go to reshort, maybe all the shares have been borrowed, so you can't reshort it, so you just take the loss. It's not like you can just reshort it higher. That's the thing, is a lot of these, the shares get gobbled up if it breaks through that first point, and people can see that it's probably going to be a multi-day beast. That those shares go quick. So I think the smartest thing to do is take these small positions to start and just wait them out. And if they do break out and run, you're going to be so thankful. And then when they fill like if this would have ran to 3 and filled it at 3, I'd have been sitting really well. And then that's when you make the big money. You make really nice gains on the ones that break out, where most people, that's whenever they lose the most. But that's actually, if you take this approach, those are the ones that you win the most on. So it's actually kind of a different way of thinking, and it works for me. It's really safe. And the way I trade is I just don't ever want to lose. Like I hate losing. And so I just trade real conservative and make it hard to lose. So yeah, I'll tune back in. I just wanted to show you that support crack, kind of what that looks like. It's bouncing up, and now it'll probably test 250 to see if support has now become resistance. So that point that at first was having trouble breaking through, now it's going to have trouble breaking through the opposite way. And if that is indeed confirmed here as new resistance, then it's pretty much dead, and it should come on down. So anyways, yeah, little starter short, big equity cushion. Our starter short actually became a top tick, and we got the crack on the first little starter position here, which is fine. It'd be a nice little gain if it comes down to here. 258 to 238, 20 cents on 500 shares. Even though it's a tiny gain, it's $100. still it'll be, up $260 today. It's only 1 o'clock. That's how you trade, or at least that's how I trade. Is every day just make a few $100, make a couple $1,000. Don't lose. Don't blow up. Be smart. Be conservative. And day in, day out, if you do that over time, it works. But yeah. See, now that was kind of. It looks like that's being confirmed as the top. We're having a new sell-off. I'm gonna shut it down. Usually these last parts drag out. People think that they're now bargain buying. They don't know that it's dead. So we gotta wait through the bargain buyers and the gullibles, like usual. Let them drag it out, and then hopefully that will be within the next hour. But it's hard to say. All right. I think I'm going to cover right now. I'll tell you why in a second. So CERS 500. The lowest ask is 246. So let's cover right now. Actually, just wait a second. I saw it at 244, 243 a second ago. I saw a 10,000 bid, but it looks like that was just a market maker trying to punk people because it's gone now. But I did see a little bit of hidden size on the bid. I saw some big tickets print that didn't take out that particular price point, even though the tickets that printed were a larger quantity than the quantity that showed. So that's how you know there was hidden size on the bid. Well, let's give this a second. A couple buys at 246, a couple nice ones. So there's hidden size on the ask also. See, 10,000 came up at 246. There's only 4,000 something showing, and that didn't disappear. So there's hidden size. There's some market makers tricks. If you zoom out, you can see what these look like. Look at that. Selling at 45 again. Some good sells on the 46. So this might continue down. And now I no longer see those big bids drop down now to 239 and 238 from 242 and 241, I believe. $4,000, and there we go. We sold through 245 now. Now 245 is the ask. See that 10,000 that popped in at 244? I think that's a market maker trying to keep this from cracking further. A lot of times you'll see these fake bids pop in and out. Let's see what happens here for a second. I think it wants to drop a little more. Just depends how long you want to wait, really. If you want to hold through the bounces and all the stuff like that, then you'll probably make a bit more. But if you just want to lock it in and move on, oh, there's some big sells through 244. That's a good sign. You see that? Look at that, straight red through 244, 26,000. So there's hidden size, absolutely. I mean, about 30,000 just sold through, and it's still here. So there's hidden size on the bid, but still, I mean, that's bearish. This wants to drop further, I think. That's what you want to see if you're short. Yeah, if we look at the 20-day, we'll see this. You know, this stock does this a lot. Pop, crash. It comes all the way back down. Like here, it ran a couple days and then came right back down. So it depends, like I said, how long you want to wait. I mean, pretty much know this is coming back down to just above $2. Do you want to lock it in and just guarantee the money? Or do you want to wait? You risk, a secondary run. You risk losing your gains. Then you have to wait it out. Your equity's tied up, even though this is just a minimal amount of money. In other situations, just sometimes it's nice to lock it in, but we're still trickling down. So, 244 is the ask, 243 is the bid. We're still heavy on the ask, thin on the bid, so that's still bearish. I like that. Looks like it's going to come sit right on our halfway price target with this 239, 238 support. Our price target right at 238 point something. Now we're selling through 243. There it goes. So now 243 got sold through. Let's lock it in. I'm done here. So 242. Let's do it. Cover. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so we should be flat there. Let's see. It did. Let's cancel that $3. Alright, so our buy to cover was executed right here at 241.67. So we went from 258 to pretty much 242, so 16 cents. At 500 shares, be 50, $80, I think. Yeah, so 234 for the day. So it's been kind of a slow day, but this was just a cool little example of, you may have like your main plays going on. Like I have a 6,000 share position on a different stock right now that I'm waiting on the crash for. And so that's a good chunk of my equity tied up in that. And then I still want to leave my large equity cushion. And so that's why but in the back burner while you're waiting for the big money crash, you can still just get a few $100 a day, shorten these little poppers, so just remember, just take tiny positions, leave equity, average up if you need to, look at the chart and find resistance points and then set those as your average points, for your second and third short positions on there. And because you want to get your shares early before everyone snatches it up. Like if this would have broke out and started running and been up 30-40%, it would have showed up on everyone's radar. They would have started flooding in and everyone would have started shorting it and taking all the shares. So it's nice to see a runner try to get that top tick, which we did pretty well here, and then you set another short, your average up point quickly after that. Just by looking at the chart, we knew that the next average point, it would find some resistance around 3 and 4 if it got that far. So go ahead and get those short orders in before they get all snatched up. And then you can do things like these on the side and just, make money every day while you wait for the big money. So, yeah, this is a Fluff News, just your random short. This is your bread and butter here, these little Fluff News pops. This is how you make money every day. Because, you don't want to go for home runs and just rely on that. You got to just bread and butter, a few $100 a day, a couple thousand a day, a few $100 a day, and then don't lose and good to go.